Hi everyone, I am currently at the moment working my way back through some of my very old Scan and Cut videos. The reason being is a lot of them were made, maybe 4, 5, towards 6 or 7 or so years ago, and I'm still getting new subscribers to my channel all the time, and I'm also getting messages and comments left on old videos from people saying that they've either just got a Scan and Cut or they have only just found my channel. And like I say, I've been on YouTube probably 8 years or so now. So I've decided that when I get time, I'm going to go back and I'm going to revisit some of the techniques that I've shown in the past. Today's video is going to be using Canvas Workspace online because that's the first Canvas Workspace that we got. I won't be using any fonts, so I don't need to use the computer-based version, to pull in fonts that I have on my computer. I'm just going to be making some shapes from shapes that are already in Canvas Workspace. So I've logged into my Canvas Workspace online. I'm on the Canvas projects and I'm going to scroll down until I find the project that I want to use. I have recently shown how to make a cake topper, and in that video that was kind of the basics of using weld, subtract, resize. And again, I have covered making a cake topper in the past, but I just wanted to recap on some of the basic techniques. So I'm just scrolling and I'm trying to find the project that I used in a video over 5 years ago. So here it is, that's it, it's wall mirror stickers. So I'm going to select on that and then it shows you the mat. There's a video here how to use it in the way that they've designed it for, so to put it onto a mirror, etc. And there's a PDF that usually tells you what you need, that kind of thing. But all as I want is this mat. I'm not downloading it, I'm just going to open it in Canvas Workspace. So when you hover over the box, these two purple icons will appear, and I'm going to choose the one on the left. If you can hear any background noise, it's a fairly warm day again here, and I've got the door open. So you may hear trains going through the village from time to time. So it says edit parts on Canvas project. I'm just going to say OK. And this is the project that they're providing. So I'm just going to put one on the side out of the way. And I'm just going to bring this one into view. Now, I'm not going to do anything with the size at this stage. I'm just going to use it at the size it is and see what we get. A couple of people had left comments on the original video from over 5 years ago saying that when they tried to do a certain process, it didn't work the way I'd showed in my previous video. That could be a number of reasons. It could be that maybe they've sized their design differently. It may be that they didn't overlap their design as much as I'd done. They may have missed a step, I'm not sure. So literally this is the size that this comes on. So you'll see when I select it that there's a blue bounding box around the design. However, if you look closely at the design, you'll see that this section here and this section here are separate from this bit in the middle. So that means there are 3 separate objects here. It's not one object. So the first thing I'm going to do is right click, because I like to use my right and left click on my mouse, and see if there's an ungroup option, which there is. If you don't like to use the right mouse click, or you've not got your right mouse click set up on your computer or laptop, you can come up to edit and you'll see that there's a group and ungroup function here. So when I select that, you'll now see that there are 3 bounding boxes. So each one of these shapes is a separate element. So I'm going to put these 2 on the side for now, and I'm just going to work with this shape. Now, I'm going to rotate it round so that it's more vertical than on a diagonal. Still not touched the size, just brought the design in from the Canvas Workspace projects, ungrouped it and selected this middle section. So I'm going to right click and hit duplicate, and then again I'm just going to rotate it round so that this fatter part of the design is in the middle and the narrower parts are on the top and the bottom. Okay, I'm going to right click and make a duplicate, and then again I'm going to rotate it round so it's kind of horizontal this time and just position it here. Now what you can also do, but again I think somebody left a comment on the original video that it didn't work on their computer, so I'm not sure whether this is something that just works on my Mac or whether it's a different key operation if you use Windows. But for me, if I select an object like this one here and I hold my Option key down on my Mac keyboard and then go and hover over the circle, the blue circle, until I get the rotate handle, when I rotate, not only do I rotate, but I get a copy of the original. I'm going to left click and select this top one, hold my Shift key down, which on my Mac keyboard is the upward facing arrow, and select the one on the bottom. So I've just got these two selected. I'm going to go to Edit and center them vertically. Then I'm going to left click anywhere on the page to deselect, and I'm going to choose the shape on the right, hold my Shift key down and choose the shape on the left. So now I've only got these two. I'm going to come back to Edit and I'm going to center them horizontally. So these two are centered and these two are centered, but they're not centered together. So all I'm going to do now is left click on this one on the right, and using the arrows on my keyboard, I'm just going to bring it over a bit, because obviously I've just centered it with that one, so I don't really want to move it up or down. I just want to bring it in. So I'm just going to bring it in until it overlaps this shape and this shape, and I'm going to do the same with this one. So I'm just going to select it and use the right arrow. I'm just using the 4 directional arrows on my keyboard, and I'm going to bring that over. Now I'm going to try and zoom in, and then I'm going to select the arrow to deselect. So if you look now, this shape here overlaps ever so slightly, this, and so does this. I'm going to bring it in a little bit more. I'm just going to undo that because I think it moved up ever so slightly. So I'm just going to bring it in a little bit more. That one did the same. When I selected it, it jumped up. So I'm going to undo to put it back in place, select it and bring it in. So these two in the middle are not overlapped, but the two left and right are overlapping these two, if that makes sense. So now I'm just going to select everything. I'm going to come to Edit, down to Process Overlap and Weld, and that's what I've got now. It's filled in with white at the moment, but I'm going to come and fill it with a different colour in the hope that you'll see it better. So if I zoom in, where I placed this shape touching this one and this one, you'll now see there's a gap, so it's welded together, and the same here, but they're not welded in the middle. You could push them up if you want to, but just for the process of this, I'm just trying to keep it fairly simple, and that's what I've got. So now if I right click and create a duplicate, select them both, go to Edit and center them both on the horizontal and vertical so they're directly on top of each other, and I click on one, and then I see this bluey green circle again when I hover over it. Now I'm just going to rotate that just to the right. So this is what I've got, and it looks a bit of a jumbled up mess, but that's fine because I want to kind of show you how you can, play about with nodes and get the best possible cutting outcome. And by creating shapes like this that overlap a lot, it gives me the opportunity to show you how to do that. So I'm just going to select everything, and again I'm going to come to edit and weld. Now it says a part of the line overlaps with other lines, slightly move a line and then try this operation again. So I'm going to say okay. I'm not going to do what it says, slightly move. What I am going to do, with them both still selected, I'm going to right click and make them a group, because that way in Canvas Online I can adjust them in size together once they're grouped. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag a corner and I'm just going to drag the design out to make it bigger. And now I'm going to try the weld again and see. You can leave it grouped, you can ungroup it, it doesn't matter. But all as I've done is grouped it and resized it to make it bigger. And I'm going to say weld. Now this time it's welded. And that message is sometimes where certain lines of your design kind of overlap into spaces. It's a bit confusing when it says try moving the design and try it again. Sometimes it can be as simple as just making it bigger to stretch the design out, and that helps the weld process. So now it's all welded together, I'm going to shrink it back down so it fits within my 12 by 12 mat. Now you'll see there are lots of tiny little bits here that the machine will try and cut out. And to be fair, they could be that small that the turning circle for your blade may not be enough. You could get, you know, a messed up design. Anything can happen with it. And these are the kind of little things I just want to show. So there are a couple of ways of getting rid of these bits so that the rest of it will hopefully cut out nicely. The first way I'm going to do it is going to go to the basic shapes and I'm going to drag a circle on, and I'm going to try and place a circle so that it picks up quite a few of these shapes. Now again, at the moment, just to give you an idea, this overall size of the original design is 9.54 high and it's 11.40 wide, and that's inches. The circle is just coming on at its basic default size, which is 3.94 by 3.94 inches. And you can see it here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to fill it with white just to help you see it better. Okay, you don't have to do this to make the process work. It's just that it might help you see better on the video. So now I'm going to select both of those shapes. I'm going to come back to edit and I'm going to weld. Now that's got rid of a lot of the mess in the middle. I'm just going to fill it again with colour. I'm going to make it red so you can see it better, but you can still see that there are these funky little tiny bits here that would, you know, possibly cause us problems when we try to cut it. So in Canvas Workspace Online, you double click to expose the nodes. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to select them by dragging my mouse around them. And when the nodes are exposed, you get this node editing box that appears up here. This last one with a minus is delete point. So I'm just going to keep selecting these tiny bits and using this delete point until I kind of get rid of these bits in the middle. Now, depending how many nodes are on top of each other, you may have to do this in the same place multiple times. So at the moment I'm selecting and I'm hitting delete and they're all going, but sometimes, like, I'll select this one and see if it happens. It may or may not happen. When I hit delete, now it has deleted, but sometimes if there are lots of nodes that are on top of each other, when you select it and hit delete, it'll leave nodes behind. So you just select them again and hit delete. So I'm going to try and get this and hit delete, and I'm just wanting to get rid of all these tiny little nodes that you can see are all piled on top of each other, which, you know, potentially can affect how, see now I deleted but there's still nodes there, so I'm going to select them again and hit delete. And then I'm going to click anywhere on the page to deselect and see how it's looking. So now I've got rid of a lot, but I can see there's a tiny one there, there's a bit here. So I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to double click to select the nodes. I'm going to try over here and see if I can select that one to get rid of that funny little bit that was there. And then I'm going to left click anywhere on the page again to deselect. I want to try and get rid of these last two and that one. So now you'll see I've kind of cleaned up most of all that, you know, mess that was in the middle. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to resize this down, and I'm just going to put it on one side. So now I'm going to bring in a circle. I'm going to bring this down a bit more. I'm going to select my circle until it's bigger than the design. I'm going to right click and duplicate the circle. I'm going to squash the second circle in a little bit, select both, go to edit, center them on the horizontal and center them on the vertical. So I've now got two circles, one on top of the other. Now again, sometimes it's easier if I fill it with color to help you see it on the screen. So I'm going to select them both so you can see them. Now, this bit is the most important bit. The smaller circle has to be on top of the bigger circle for this to work. So if for any reason, let me just bring this forward. If you see this and you don't see your other circle, right click and go backwards, and then the bigger circle's on the bottom. So now I'm just going to drag an imaginary box over both of them to select them. I'm going to come to edit. I'm going to come back to process overlap, and this time instead of weld I'm going to use subtract, and that basically punches the yellow circle out of the green circle to give me a frame. I'm going to bring this in and I'm going to drag it out again until it overlaps the circle. Now again, you can't really see because the red shape is behind, so I'm going to select it, right click and say forwards, and now you can see it's overlapping the inner line here, but it doesn't extend past, it can't extend past. It's got to be overlapping within this solid space, if you like. So it overlaps here and here, but not anywhere else. And that's because when I created the shape, it's not symmetrical, but that's fine. So what I can do, I can drag it up and see if I can make it fit. But if I make it fit here, it comes outside the circle, which is not what I want. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to try and rotate it and see if that makes any difference. See if I can extend it out a little, but I can't. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it so it's only overlapping in these two places and these two places. Now I'm going to select both and I'm just going to try and center it on the horizontal and vertical again, just to, so I've got a bit more of an even overlap. Okay, so it doesn't matter for this whether the red is on the top or underneath because you're welding. It only matters when you're doing subtract. So now I'm going to select both and I'm going to go edit and weld. So now that's made one shape. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to choose a square. I'm going to drag a square out so it's bigger than my circle. I'm going to right click and duplicate. I'm going to make this one a bit smaller. I'm only doing it by eye just for the video. You can be more precise with your sizing if you want to. Again, I'll fill it with colour just so that you can see the process. So I've got the smaller square on top because I want to make another frame. So that's where it needs to be. I'm going to select both. I'm going to go edit and subtract. And now I've made a square frame. So now I'm going to put the circle into the middle of the square frame and I'm going to try and make this overlap on 4 points of the circle. Now again, the circle's behind. I'm going to bring it forward just in the hope it might make it easier for you to see on the video. Again, because I'm going to be welding, it doesn't need to be on top, but I want you to be able to try and see the process. I'm going to select them both again. I'm going to go to Edit, Center on the horizontal, Center on the vertical. So now this circle should be centered within the square frame. And because I've overlapped it ever so slightly, when I select everything and go Edit and Weld, it will all weld. So that was just a quick, again, an overview of how to make shapes from a shape that's already free in Canvas Workspace, how you can use the shapes. So if I come to the other one and just ungroup that, and then let's rotate it, let's duplicate it, rotate it again. This time we'll overlap it in the middle. I'll select both, I'll go Edit, Center, I'm going to group them, and then I'm going to use my Option key and drag a shape out. Again, if yours doesn't work on the Option key, just duplicate it and rotate it. I'm just going to do this again, and then I'm going to do it again. So now this time everything is all overlapped. I'm going to select everything, I'm going to come to Edit and Weld. It's given me that message again, so I'm going to just move that other one out of the way. I'm going to select them all, right click, make them a group, and I'm going to stretch it out so it's bigger. Then with it selected, I'm going to try and do, it's probably because of these little bits here that are poking out, but I'm going to try and weld it again and see if it works. So I'm going to bring it back down because it's not worked this time. And I know it's hard to see, but if I show you, can you see these little bits that are sticking out into these gaps? That's what's causing the problem. Now before, when I did it, probably by just resizing it helped. So this time resizing it isn't helping. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ungroup it, and I'm going to get rid of these on the angle. I'm going to select just the 2 vertical and the 2 horizontal and go Edit and Weld, and that's welded. Now I'm going to duplicate it, or for me, I can hold the Option key down and rotate, Edit, Weld. It's done it this time. So sometimes you just have to, if you know resizing it doesn't work, you have to kind of break your design down and see if you can make it work. Now again, just to help, I'm going to fill it with colour because it's got white in it at the moment, which isn't easy to see. But again, you can see there are all these bits here in the middle. Now I'm going to go up to 100%. These shapes here would probably cut okay, but these tiny little ones here on the outside would probably be too small for your blade. So again, I'm going to bring a circle on. I'm going to shrink it down big enough to cover these holes in the middle, but not cover these kind of triangular shapes on the outside. Again, I'm just going to fill this with white in the hope that you can see it. And I'm just going to come down to 50%. So now I'm going to select both, and I'm going to go Edit and Weld. And that's got rid of a lot of those bits in the middle. Okay, again, I'm going to shrink this down, and I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to bring a circle on, make it bigger than that original design. I'm going to duplicate it, make the duplicate smaller, select both, go to Edit, Center on the horizontal, Center on the vertical. The small circle has to be on top, Edit and Subtract, and I've got a frame. Now I can put this in the middle. I'm going to fill them with colour again, just to help you see. I'm going to center them both. So I've selected them both, center them together. I can see that this isn't touching any of this inner line, and it needs to be to weld. So I'm going to drag it out, kind of position it. I'm going to bring it forward. It needs to overlap to be able to weld. And although it is in a couple of places, it's not in others. So I'm just going to drag it out again, center it, make sure that I can see that the pale blue is overlapping the green, go to edit and weld, and that's now given me that shape. Again, you've got these tiny little bits around the outside. You can go in and you can delete them, but for now, for the process of the video, I'm just going to make another square, going to duplicate it, I'm just going to shrink it down, select both, center the two squares together, and then the smaller square should be on top, so I'm going to hit subtract. So now I've got a frame. I'm going to bring the circle in and I'm going to stretch it out. I'm going to bring it forward so it's on top, just so I can see that it's overlapping. Select both, edit center, edit middle, so it's all centered together, everything's selected, and I'm going to hit weld. So that one looks a lot better than this one did. So you can make it bigger and use it as a scrapbook layout. You can make it smaller, put it on the front of, say, a 6x6 card. But again, what I would do, I'm just going to stretch it out to make it bigger. Any of these tiny little pieces here, I would get rid of. So again, I would double click and I would just go in and I would start deleting these tiny little nodes that are here, because they will cause your blade a problem when you go to start cutting it. So I'm going to get rid of all these other bits that I've not used. And again, that's just how to make a shape from a shape that's already free in Canvas Workspace. So I hope that helped. What I will do at the end of this video, I'll put an information card to the original video I did using this same shape that was done, like I say, over 5 years ago. And, if you watch this and watch the other, hopefully you'll have a good understanding of how you can create things using things that are already here, free for you to use. Please leave me any comments or questions underneath the YouTube video. Please give the video a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.